Hey guys, Cam here, Watchman News 1776. Welcome to the show. This is our first call, and I've got my really good friend Tarik, who is Tarik is now his background is a Moorishe American who has studied the common law constitution in reference to administrative law. And for those who may not know what that is, instead of going into the court jurisdiction, Tarik knows how to file the proper paperwork to settle the matter so that he doesn't get drug into the courtroom. And so he's a wealth of knowledge. Tarik originally trained as an RN, then he decided to change over to naturopath, and now he's basically moving into the all natural remedies, home remedies, to help those who may or may not like to go to the doctors and take medicine. Tarik is also a patriot who is also knowledgeable about the current events going on in our politics, and so just going to ask a few questions, and Tarik's going to give his wisdom and his knowledge, and then we'll go from there. So the first question here, Tarik, is your thoughts about Niki Haley. Is she eligible to run for president? What's going on with Niki Haley?
Well, first of all, you should ask, what is her real last name? What is her family name? Where does she come from? You know, she's not from here. She can't be president or vice president, like Kamala Harris can't really be vice president. She's not from here. She's raised in Canada.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why do you think? Why do you think?
Of parents from India.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's, even though the father was Jamaican, he was from Indian heritage or from Hindi heritage, in the Caribbean. So that she's not an American. She's, she might be a naturalized American or whatever, something like that. But that doesn't make her eligible for presidency or vice presidency. Actually, shouldn't even be near the White House. And her whole career was kicked off by being a mistress to the Speaker of the House in California. Yeah, who later became the mayor of San Francisco.
So, so you're saying that Niki Haley comes from an Indian family background?
From a Hindi background, yes. Yeah, I prefer Hindi because that's where the whole India thing came from.
Right, right.
Linguistically.
From what I understand, Niki Haley, from some of the research that I've done, the parents, when they migrated, when they came to America, they were not quite U.S. citizens yet.
Nope.
But Niki Haley was born in America.
Right.
Okay. But yet, even though she was born in America and and she became a U.S. citizen, there's from what my understanding is there's a 12th Amendment that says that she does not qualify. There's a technicality. There's a technicality there, right?
Exactly. That's what I was referring to. That she's not from here. Her heritage is not from here. And so, being running for president, that's just a diversion of the electorate. And furthermore, the way that things are going, that's not going to happen. She's not even going to even get on the ballot, I don't think.
Yeah.
Because this is all going to come out eventually. All this truth is coming out. It's pouring out in which direction. And, it's clear that what they're trying to do, in politics, as I call it, because that's what it really is, a bunch of politics. And these people are, in the Congress, which is nothing more than a corporation since 1871. And so these people that are in the Congress are conning the people because they're not there to do what the used to be called in Congress assembled prior to 1871. What went on in the Congress? That was the real thing. That was not this corporatized version of Congress where insider trading is rampant, and once you get in there, the money flow happens and you become well off or wealthy or however you wish to push it, until they catch you.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that this Nikki Haley, do you think that the Trump administration, the white hats, if you want to, some people call them, do you think they are aware of course, I would think they would be. What is your take on that? Knowing that the information is out there, but yet they're still using her
Well,
to.
yeah, because they already used her in the UN. You remember, she was a UN, wasn't she UN ambassador?
I believe that's
After
true.
being governor of Carolina there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and see, this is the fraud. See, because they allow her to run for office in the Carolina, and then from there they pick her up and throw her at the UN. To make it appear to be progress. To make to public relations is what it really turns out to be. And her record in the UN wasn't all that stellar, from what I remember. I don't have any specific examples, but she was just a yes person for the administrations, because what does she know?
It seems like to me, Tarik, that they've got the trump card on Haley, and let's just say that she's maybe her puppet masters are the deep state globalist,
Mm-hmm.
and so but yet if it gets from if it gets any worse, she really starts moving in the ranks, I guess they can pull out that trump card and say, hey, you know what, you you really don't qualify to run for president.
Well, I think that should be clear. I mean, the laws and the rules state that. I mean, anybody can find that today in today's world. You just ask Alexa and she'll tell you, that, who's eligible to run for president. If you are born here but are of foreign heritage and become a U.S. citizen, are you still allowed to run for certain offices? And ask that question and see what Alexa says. Because that's what they're there for. AI is to do the work for a lot of people if you would just use it correctly and not try to, profit off of it, which is what their major thing is to do.
I mean, if Nikki Haley was not in the picture, who else do you think would be in the running? And I don't understand why, just kind of changing gears here. Why would they not have DeSantis? Who's much stronger, in the polls to run against Trump than Nikki Haley.
Well, but there's no running against Trump in the Republican Party. I mean, that's just, you can forget that.
So
Because
nobody's.
it's already, look at all his rallies. Just look at it, just take 5 or 10 of his rallies and see what the deal is, and see how people react to him and how they, how because it comes down to a popularity contest in the first place, and certainly the how do I want to politely put it, the definite downfall of Joe Biden, because it's not just his appearance and his ability to remember or not remember and all that stuff that's going on, just like Reagan did, before he got out, was to start claiming Alzheimer's and I don't remember and I don't know, I don't remember, and that's it. You know, it's a game, you guys. This repeats itself over and over again in the politics of corporatism, because that's what it is, folks. It is corporatism to the max in this country, and it is under the guise of demonocracy or democracy, which means mob rule. If you want to take the word apart, it means mob rule. Doesn't mean what these people purported to mean. And again, these magic words that are used upon us, and it was old Walt himself who spent summers with Errol Flynn and Ronald Reagan in Jamaica, worshiping the Nazis. And it's, you know, these are the kind of people they keep dragging out to do all this stuff to make it look a certain way. And you know, they look how they did Reagan as far as the attempted assassination, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's a lot. You got to realize that there's a lot of Operation Mockingbird going on. That's how they direct and misdirect the narrative.
So when you say Operation Mockingbird, there's probably a lot of people that don't really know what that is. Can you just briefly explain, just in a few words, what that might be?
It's a must know, you guys, because remember, the war, the World War II, so called, was not ended. It wasn't actually ended until 46, 45 and 46, which is, you know, but at that time in 44, before the war was over, you had three major Nazi programming, psychological warfare programming that were introduced here and put into place here by 1,700 high-ranking Nazis that got away from the Nuremberg thing and all of that, and were brought here. Were sent to Australia. Were sent to New Zealand. Were sent to South Africa. Were sent to England. You know, Canada. You know, and in the guise that the Allies won the war.
Mm-hmm.
And I say in the guise that the Allies won the war, because the Nazis' international, you know, production of what they wanted to happen was to be spread all over the planet.
And so the actual plan of Operation Mockingbird is, you said that they were,
That's to create a narrative that doesn't allow people, which omits the transfer of the Nazi hierarchy over here. You know, Reinhard Gehlen was, along with Wild Bill Donovan from the Office of Special Services, OSS. They're the ones who set up the CIA, and then you had the DIA, and you had the NSA, then you had the NASA, you had the NSC, then you had and then you later on you got the Homeland Insecurity that they brought in under Bush.
So my question is, okay, Operation Mockingbird. So they got the Nazis, they got the top the scientists and such, and now the plan is what? What they do now?
The plan is to do what Charlotte Iserbyt, former Secretary of Education under Reagan, what she writes in her book called "The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America." And she has a wonderful interview on that's anyone can find. If you contact me, I'll send it to you, because it's the most incredible. She says that she was in there with all of the documentation and all the plans of what they plan to do, not just nationally but globally, as far as education was concerned, and all of it was directed towards teaching and training the people to recognize or identify the resistors to the programming that you want put forward.
So it's so Operation Mockingbird in a way. It's creating a propaganda,
Yep.
to
It's the
into the
propaganda
education
machine.
system.
It's the propaganda machine. It's the way that people get their information. How you misdirect them, and how you put forth the narrative over and over and over and over and over and over again until everybody gets it. You get it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the method. And that's why you had people like Joseph Mengele here, the mad doctor. Of course, he didn't last long because his stuff was so outrageous that they sent him to Bolivia, told him to go practice on them people down there.
Mm.
Uh, so, you had all these, these Nazi hierarchy over here doing all this stuff in the military, in the schools, just throughout the society. And then you're saying that you won the war, World War II, you know.
Mm-hmm.
What? Excuse
Hmm.
me? You won the war. Well, wait a minute. How did you get all these? That just doesn't add up. Or at least not in the mathematics that I know.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm not altogether familiar with the tricknology of the magic words that they all use, but I know quite a bit of them. you know, but they cover up their activity. They make it look a certain way, and they put it in your face, and let you figure it out,
Hmm.
because they have to tell you what they're doing, what they're gonna do. They have to do that. That's a ritual, part of the Masonic rituals that go on. You know, and this is high Freemasonry ongoing in this land. And I think you're going to ask me about that later on, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
But
and from what I understand, Tarik, is they have to put it out there in front of you because I think they believe that if they don't notice you, then it comes back to them in the next life, and karma.
yep,
And is that about right?
yep. That means you weren't up front and forthright. You
Yeah,
told them. You just didn't tell them how to tell them. Tell them to look.
right.
You didn't
But you
tell
don't
them
know.
everything. You told them
Everybody was
everything.
noticed.
You told them, but you didn't tell them.
Gotcha. All
Yeah.
right. So next question is your thoughts. Recently Tucker Carlson interviewed Vladimir Putin,
Yeah.
and it was I think about a 2-hour interview.
hmm
Uh, what did you take from that interview with Tucker and Putin?
Well, first of all, I must, even though I know who Tucker Carlson is and where he comes from, but I have to give him his props on going over there and sitting down with the feared and the awful Vladimir Putin. Oh my God, he's terrible guy. Oh, Russian. He's the Russian. Oh my God. I mean, they got this Russian hoax going like they had against, but they didn't have it like that against the Nazis. So so how is it they got against, what do they got against the Russians? I mean, the Russians were our allies until right after the end of World War II.
Hmm.
Took a bunch of Nazis in their country over there as well under Stalin, and most of them landed in Ukraine, as you can see today. And
Hmm.
which is what Putin said all along, that you have to close down these labs and you have to get these Nazis under control. This is ridiculous. And Russia just recently declared victory over Ukraine the last
Hmm.
few days. Yeah.
But we don't see that in the news, though.
Well, you're
Thinking,
not going to see.
yeah.
No, you're not going to see that in the news because they're pushing the Russia hoax on the people, and until anything that they can find negative, that's what they throw in your face as if it's Putin, 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 and yeah, Tucker Carlson asked a lot of softies, and Putin ran the whole that thing pretty much, schooled him, but I think it's incredible that he did it, and you allowed the people to hear actually what Putin says,
As
not,
that
not what somebody tells you he said or what did or whatever. You got him in front of you, and you hear him answer the questions, and you see how he handles it, and you see that he's not some monster guy. He's a super intelligent cat, man. I mean, he's not some Johnny off the pickle boat. I guarantee you that.
So, as I recall in the interview, he did a history lesson, to Tucker Carlson, and he was saying, he said, hey, listen, we've tried to reach out, to America, and but the CIA, yes, we wanted peace, we wanted to, consolidate. But the CIA, and Clinton, they didn't want that. And I think you remember when he handed over some papers, and he said it's in Russian, but you can translate it into American. But here's everything that has transpired. He goes, we've been open about wanting to consolidate and work together, but for whatever reason, the CIA at the time, they go, no, we're not, we've decided not to, even though there was some kind of a contract, some kind of agreement that was signed, but yet, but it never, but then they reneged on
They
it.
blocked it. They kept it. They kept it under wraps. Yeah, that's what they do. See, you have to understand the whole CIA thing is think about it. It comes out of the whole Russian Soviet thing that happened, where the Germans started invading like Napoleon did, trying to invade the Soviet Union, Russia. And it got started late August, early September. And next thing you know, they got all froze in over there by the end of September, 1st of October.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like Napoleon's people did, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
History doesn't repeat itself, but it does imitate
Mm-hmm.
a lot.
Mm-hmm. I also recall where Putin said, hey, we have, Russia, they've got pretty good intel too. The NSA, they spy, and they've got supposedly everything, but Russia also is very highly sophisticated in their monitoring of other countries as well, right?
Absolutely.
And so, Putin just right out just said, "Hey, listen, Tucker, I know that you applied for the CIA, but you were rejected." And Tucker Carlson, his face was just like completely like no smile, no nothing. You could tell that he was a little flustered.
He got taken right there. He got taken to school right then and there. See,
right.
and see this whole idea, but see, and at the same time, that's a great thing to see that Putin handled it like that, because it's not some, he's not some floozy over there. He's the head of the Russian Federation. It's not some just punk position, some lightweight thing. He's like the HNIC over there, the head one in charge.
Got it.
Yeah.
And moving to the next question, will Joe Biden continue to be what I say, people may disagree with me on this, but will Joe Biden continue to be the fake president for the 2024 election? But a lot of people believe that he's the real president, but that's everybody's opinion. That's my opinion. So will Joe Biden continue to be the president for the 2024 election? Will he run?
Well, my thing is my thoughts on that are that there will not be an election. First of all, Joe Biden cannot run again. I mean, if you there are a number of clips of him out where this man can't even, he can't even walk to, he can't even walk to where he's supposed to walk. He can't unless they come and grab him and direct him and talk to him like he's a child. And I mean, it's so ridiculous. And I mean, it's so in your face, the incompetence, this status of Alzheimer's and the misspeaking and all of the nonsense that comes out of this guy's mouth. and his granddaughter, told on him that that's not Joe Biden. That's Joe Biden's twin brother, and or a clone of Joe Biden, and it ain't working too well, the clone, because he can't even walk up and down the stage. He can't walk off the stage. I mean, he can't. This guy is. I mean, he's the best. The best description of Joe Biden comes from Cat Williams in one of his presentations on Joe Biden about how Joe Biden, they tell Joe, Joe, today we're just going to be quiet. We're not going to say much. Just take it easy. And then he tries to say, oh, no, I have to talk to the American people. And they say, no, Joe, Joe is 89 years old. And then it goes on. And then next thing you know, Joe is 94 years old. And the next time Joe is 98 years old. In other words, you can see the deterioration in this man or this being, or this whatever it is, that he is not really capable of being any kind of a CEO of anything.
Right.
It's behind him. It's who's behind the scenes. And we know that it's bankers and lawyers from the bar, which are the British. That's the British amongst us. That's the BAR, right? What is the BAR? Is that a place where you go get a drink? No, it's the British Accreditation Regency. That is that they are the collection agency for the Crown, for the Bank of England. You all should know this, and actually these bar members are the ones that are setting up all these different contracts and things that people accept as the truth, rather than doing their own looking into or research, finding out things. They've been trained to just, okay, I got it, yeah, all right, I know. This whole training of fake. It's real, and Charlotte Isobite is so good with this when she says, they're training you to be fake and to not know anything, but to act like you know, and to point out people that you think are resisting the situation, like the brown shirts of the Nazis. You see, that's a key to this whole thing. We really must look closely at what has happened to the people here under this whole Nazi thing. Because Operation Mockingbird and Project Monarch, which is the real one that came in 1949, that's the MK Ultra, Mind Control Ultra. That's what we've been under for at least 70 years. That's the dumbing down process. You see? Yeah. And so once we really start looking at this stuff and seeing what it's doing, the outcome is you have a whole society of we don't give a damn, we don't care. I got bills to pay. I got stuff I got to do. I got children. I gotta. Because unless you're in that situation, they don't control you. You're controlling yourself, and they don't want you controlling yourself. You see, and that's the last thing they want.
I guess my question is will there be you say that there's not going to be a 2024 election. Do you think that there's going to be some kind of a military martial law? I mean, what do you think? Do you think there's going to be a black swan? What do you think is going to trigger that and who's going to be president in 2000? If there's no election, what happens?
Well, first of all, the Supreme Court, I heard, and this is hearsay still, I wasn't able to confirm it, but the Supreme Court has actually taken up and ruled on the 2020 election and say that it was fraud. And there are more and more evidence coming out of false, fake ballots, and people stuffing ballots, and all manner of voter fraud that you can imagine has been exposed. And so that has gotten to the Supreme Court level, and I think that's going to be a part of it. And yes, I think there's going to be a form of martial law, because there has to be a transition, folks. We have to get back to the gold standard, In fact, we are already under the gold standard, but you know, it hasn't taken effect fully yet. And once that happens, because otherwise the BRICS are going to take everything. The BRICS are going to, you know, be the ones. You know, you're gonna, the Chinese and the Brits and those who all in the BRICS, they're going to be back in charge, and there's not going to be no U.S. U.S. gone. Come
Do you
on,
think
folks.
do you think that that's a good thing? Because we know that the the deep state, they've been controlling America, since 1871, when they established the the
The
Washington.
corporation. Mm-hmm.
So but do you think that the BRICS is a good thing, to oust, this Khazarian mafia that has had a hold on Washington D.C. and the American people all this time? So do you think
Yes,
it's a good?
I do. I do think it's a good thing, and I really think that is what's forcing the hand of the monopolists, because you know we're under monopoly. That's really what we're under, and the monopoly is thorough and ongoing as we speak, and they're not trying to let this thing change. They don't want that. They're struggling every which way they can to stop it, but they can't stop it. And this is what I see is happening globally and nationally, especially nationally. That the Federal Reserve. I have friends in D.C. say that the Federal Reserve building is torn down to
Hmm,
the basement.
hmm.
So what's happening with them and that? And who are the Federal Reserve? I mean, are they federal? No. Do they have a reserve? No. Well, who are these people? Well, these are private global banks. One in particular that we all should know is called Kuhn and Loeb, and they're out of New York, and they're the ones who financed the Nazi doctors and the Nazi transfer over here, and the whole of the stuff that they did over in Germany. They, United States helped finance the return of the German war machine. That was all financed through Kuhn and Loeb and Thyssen Bank in Holland.
Hmm.
And anybody can look this up and find out this story. This is nothing new.
And that segues right into my next question is, once the 2024 election is over, and so you're saying that military will basically temporarily just take over until something subsides. But will all of the satanic Freemasonry that's all around Washington D.C. still be America's capital after the 2024? So let's just pretend. Let's pretend that there actually is a 2024 election.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and
That's a
so
pretend.
so if there was a 2024 election, whoever is going to be president, uh, will Washington D.C. still be America's capital? Yes or no?
I doubt it seriously, because buildings are being fenced off and torn down and changed and all kinds of things in DC, from what I hear from my sources there. And they're moving a lot of the activity to Colorado, to Denver.
Hmm.
Yeah, the FBI, the CIA, and some others have set up themselves, and actually Phil Schneider, the whistleblower back in the day, the geologist, and he exposed a whole bunch of the things that are going on. If you go look him up and see what he talks about, the airport of Denver and what it represents or represents, and also he knows about all the deep underground bases, military bases, the DUMBs as they call them. And he was almost killed himself by some entity that's down below the earth.
But
And yeah,
but I guess my question though, Tarik, is are you saying that Denver, Colorado, will be the new capital and replace Washington D.C.? Where do you think
no,
uh,
I think they're gonna have to spread things out, because I can't see DC being anything later on, unless they have some kind of cleanup plan for DC. Other than that, I don't see how DC can continue to be a capital of anything where it's just all a bunch of lies and a bunch of Masonic uh, rituals and statues and all kinds of Freemasonry every which way you look. And I mean, this is this. I don't see how this can continue to be the capital.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
that's just
in
my
my
take on it. But I mean, I don't claim to be right on everything. So
yeah, I mean, in my personal opinion, from what I've researched, there's the three pillars. There's the Vatican, there's London, and there's Washington
the,
D.C. The Vatican being
the city of London. No, not London.
oh,
The
oh,
city of London. Yeah,
the city
because
of
the
London.
city of London is a city state. It's not London. It's not London, England.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah, right.
So, the Vatican, having all of the symbolism, all the statutes, and then you have, the city of London. They have very similar statutes and
Yeah,
symbolism. And then you have the Washington D.C., which is, and they're all really in on it, right?
yeah.
So the Vatican being the spiritual, the city of London being the financial, and then Washington D.C. being the military strong
Military
arm.
arm, right? And that's why I mentioned earlier the general, one of the top generals at Pentagon, was announcing the latest massive military exercise,
Hmm.
and that military exercise is ongoing, and it's directed directly towards the Soviet Union or Russia,
Yeah,
just like before. Same kind of thing is happening again.
because we are fighting good versus evil, and if this Washington D.C. would still continue to be the capital, I would be like I would be completely, I would just retire. I'd be out. I'll go, okay, I'm done. Because
Yeah,
because
well,
because
you're you're already close. I mean, there's so much but again, they cannot win. They're all the things that they're doing are like they're just flailing in the wind, trying to do whatever they can to slow it down, stopping it, but they can't stop it. Not going to stop it.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question, and then we're gonna finalize it with maybe some food and water supply or that are being poisoned. But the next question is, what is NESARA, GESARA really all about? Will everyone receive free money where they don't have to work anymore?
Well, this is from my understanding from this whole episode of NESARA GESARA. It's called the National Economic Re something or another Reorganization Act, right? NESARA,
Yes.
and that means that much of the funds that have been stolen from the people in the form of fees and fines and all this nonsense that have been done to people under the guise of so-called demonocracy or democracy. Um, all of this has to be given back to the people.
Okay.
And two things are very important to know here. One is the Rodriguez Trust, and the other is the Saint Germain Trust. Now, these two trusts are combined with, I think, $44 quadrillion, or some ridiculous number, and this is comprised of mostly the stolen funds and fees and so forth from the people around the planet, and these trusts, excuse me, have to give back to the people. And that's going to be and is part of the NESARA, GESARA, that's the Global Economic Reorganization Act. And from what I understand, there are people in Colorado, Boulder, Colorado, to be specific, that are supposedly handling and developing the exchange that's supposed to come with NESARA, GESARA, NESARA especially here. GESARA is elsewhere. But
So
here in the States, it's NESARA, and we're supposed to be giving back our stolen funds.
So what my thought is like when I heard about all this gold being taken 600 and something plane full of
Plane
gold
loads, yeah.
going from the Vatican and
Mhm.
the Philippines and they so supposedly the good guys have taken it and then it's going to be redistributed back to the people.
Yeah.
That to me sounds like the 1917 Russian Revolution, where they were promising a utopian society where they say, we're
Uh,
going to give you free food, we're going to give you free house, we're going to give you free
yeah, but
money.
no, that's not going to
But
be the issue because the funds that they're talking about will in fact change the whole thing. Whatever way we've been doing, that's not going to happen any longer. We're going to be into a whole new way of thinking and doing, and that's what the transition that is being feverishly attempted to ward off by the cabal. And I think the cabal is near defeat, and that things are on the verge of changing back. And the gold standard is already, there's several states already going back on the gold standard, and the rest will be following soon, because that's the only way this country can survive in this world economic system that's going on. And that's why you have a World Economic Forum trying to actualize the Nazi ideology and ways of looking upon the earth.
so, but I mean, if this this gold and this fine money tender is going to go back in and given to the people, I don't agree with people just getting something for free.
But they're not, and this is the whole issue, that they're not getting something for free. They've already been cheated out of it, and what's going to happen is there's going to be a brief period of re-education that has to happen, which is why I think that things are going to be shut down and martial law, because people have to be informed on, first of all, why are we doing this? What's going on here? What are these changes going to do for us, and so forth? All that has to be brought forth, and it has to be brought forth that they're most of what they've been teaching people out here is the lie. It's the big lie, and it's really clear if you start looking at how they got to this point as far as the last 40 years, 40, 50 years. You see that everything has been pushed more and more towards monopoly, and it's monopoly that has been running everything into the ground, by the way. And this is why the petroleum industry, uh, John D. Rockefeller set that all up back in the 20s when they set up the public food system. They brought the Yiddish Schule system over here from Leipzig, Germany, set it up in New York and elsewhere, and this became the public pool system, as I call it, the training of young people. And they instituted later on the whole Operation Mockingbird and MK Ultra aspects of education that they wanted people to know, because you had to dumb down the population. You could, I
hmm
mean, otherwise it's never going to work for them,
hmm
because people awake. I mean, in Germany, they awoke to the fact that this Hitler guy wasn't who they thought he was, and how many attempts on his life until he disappeared, and then put the doubles in. They killed the doubles in the bunker. But Adolf, he was long gone. He, along with a lot of the top Nazis, were taken through northern Italy by the bishops of the Vatican and sent to South America. And that's
hmm
why you have the boys from Brazil, and then Eva and Juan Perón. That's where you got the Peronistas, the ones who literally made sure that the final solution was done there in Argentina, because they killed every brown skinned native people that they found. They killed them. That was
So
that. Yeah.
my take on this is, from what I've gathered on some of my sources, is that the elderly will be the first to actually get the some of this GESARA NESARA from the taxes that they paid.
Yeah.
Supposedly, it's going to be $7,500 per elderly, and
Right.
then. And it's going to, from the elderly, and then it's going to come down, and anybody who's paid, taxes or income taxes, if you will,
Right.
are going to be redistributed, some of that money back, and there's going to be, some payback on that. Is that about right?
That's about right. That's what they're saying. And then it's supposed to develop even further with people who have purchased certain things, bonds, and who have other such instruments out there that have to be redeemed. And so that's going to set up a whole class structure again, but at least it will not be a monopoly class structure, because that's why the blockchain is going to be so important, because the blockchain is very difficult to break in and break through and change, which is why I think that's where it's headed. And then once we do our own AI, which is to decentralize the AI and not having it focused on the lust and the wants of the monopolists, which is controlling everything or attempting to control everything. Because if they don't have control over most of it, then they feel they're going to lose, which they would recently. I mean, they really would, because the people would wake up faster and take charge and get back and take back everything that's been stolen. But like I say, I think this NESARA is happening, and I think that the change is here, and it's going to transpire over here. We got coming up with the so-called Easter, is the time that these trusts that I mentioned earlier are allowed to release funds from them. And they missed the last opportunity at Xmas, Christmas, most people call it. And then so now Easter's coming, and Easter is a very strange holiday because sometimes it's in April and sometimes it's in March. And Dick Gregory said, how the hell can you be killed in 2 different months? You can't even be killed in 2 different days. And plus, he was he was killed on Friday, and then 3 days later he rose, right?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, that don't sound like Sunday to me. I mean, as far as I learned how to count in kindergarten, you
right.
know, yeah.
So,
So
we're gonna go ahead and end this call right now, just
okay, all
time
right.
wise. But we thank you for chiming in. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. And I definitely would like to invite you back for a second interview, because there's so many more other questions that I would like
Hmm.
to ask you,
Okay,
and
all
so
right.
that you
I
can
agree.
share, and we'll do it again. What do you think about that?
I think that's great. That's awesome. And check out some of my stuff. I have a couple of things on YouTube, and I'm trying to get my Rumble channel going. And one of the first things that I'm going to put up there is called Breaking Down the Deception. And it has to do with the whole fraudulent COVID period that locked down the whole country. And it shows some very important information that everybody should know, that COVID is actually an acronym, and it stands for Certificate of Vaccination Identification,
Yeah,
AI.
but we don't
And
want the YouTube monitors to every time we say that word. But
oh
anyway,
wow, sorry
let's
about that. Yeah, I'm
let
sorry about that. But yeah, but
let
that's how they got us with the magic words,
yeah.
taking acronyms and turning them into words and getting
All
people
right.
to buy into it. So that was just my final thought there.
All right. Tarik, thank you for your time, and we'll do it again, my brother.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, really.